When Jorge Mario Bergoglio was elected Pope Francis almost 10 years ago on March the 13th, 2013, the world was immediately captivated by his vibrant personality, his symbolic imagery, his love of the poor, and his simple language and personable engagement with both members of the public and political leaders. As we approach this 10-year anniversary, we sat down with someone who knows Pope Francis well, Alessandro Gisotti, the former Interim Director of the Holy See Press Office and the current Editorial Vice Director of Vatican Media, to get a better idea of how the Holy Father prepares and shares his message and the message of the Gospel to the wider world.
For many years you have worked with and inside really the Vatican Communications Department. What is your take, what is your impression of Pope Francis as a communicator?
Well, as you were saying, Andreas, I've been working now for 23 years, starting in Vatican Radio during the Great Jubilee of 2000. And so I had the privilege to serve the Holy See and the popes, three great pontiffs, John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and Pope Francis. And each of them gave me something not only on a professional level, but on a personal, spiritual one. And I think that every one of us, yes, of course, every one of us has his style of communication, but they are really great communicators. In particular, Pope Francis, in my opinion, is reminding every day with his words, with his gestures, even more than words, the importance of relation with God, a merciful God, and how this relationship, this friendship with Jesus, with the merciful God, can change our life forever. So I think this is the real core. The most important thing is doing even on a communication level.
What would you say were the most important messages so far? You mentioned one, but what are we to really take with us from Pope Francis from the last 10 years, really?
That God loves every one of us, the importance of the mercy dimension. We have to remember the special Jubilee that Pope Francis celebrated at the beginning of his pontificate. So I think that mercy is really a key word of his pontificate, and from this key word, this principle, we can see all the, I would say, the wonders, also, if I can say, the miracles, like the journey in Africa or in Iraq, always expressing this merciful through the message of the gospel. So I think that this is really something that we have to deepen in our life, this message of a merciful God loving us and really changing our life if we accept to be touched by this love of a merciful God. Because this is something important to me. We are free to refuse or accept this love, but God is always loving us, and Pope Francis is witnessing with his person, with his messages, with his words, with his gestures, that God is always there waiting for us, waiting for us.
And I have one more question, if you allow me, a more personal one. You have been working, you said also serving the Holy Father, but really collaborating also with him for 10 years now. What will you take with you? What have you learned on a personal level from him?
I've been director, the interim director of the Holy See Press Office in 2019. So that year I had many occasions to meet with Pope Francis, and I have to say that I really have a good memory of these meetings, and even now I have less occasions, opportunities to meet him, but it happens every time. Is a moment of joy and consolation for me. So what really impressed me is that when you are with him, it's just you. You really feel that he is listening to you, he cares about you, and even if you know how many things he has to do, how many meetings he has to attend, you have really the feeling that it's you. And I remember that, as you can understand, as you can imagine, when I was the spokesman, Vatican spokesman, and when we had meeting with him, we talked mostly about work, but always the Holy Father always asked me about my family, how are you doing, is everything okay, always caring for me. And so I'm really very grateful for this paternal way, and I think that is the most important experience that I will bring with me forever, in particular of that challenging and fascinating period I was the Vatican spokesman.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Andres.